Is the H1B visa taking away jobs from Americans? If the H1B visa is for specialized skilled workers, why are they sometimes called low-wage workers? What role do corporates play in all of this? Is H1B visa actually beneficial to the US? The answers are not black and white. However, we will be spending a lot of time discussing this in the video. If you're an immigrant or someone who's on a visa, you're probably tempted to say no. However, if you're an American citizen who's been laid off at some point or has had difficulty finding a job, then you're probably tempted to say yes. The most interesting part about this is this answer is going to vary depending upon who you're going to ask. And that's how the world works right now. If you are researching for things to support your argument, you will come across plenty of news sources to kind of favor your argument, thus leading to confirmation bias. So in this video, let's try to understand both sides of the argument and hopefully we will be able to decide. So let's begin with the first part of the argument for people who are against H1B visa. What they're saying is H1B visa displaces American workers. Some critics argue that H1B visa is used by companies to replace American workers with cheap foreign labor. This leads to fewer opportunities and lower wages for American workers. So let's analyze this argument fairly. H1B visa displacing American workers. This is a valid concern because companies have actually been accused of doing this. For example, in 2013, Disney laid off hundreds of workers and replaced them with H1B visa holders. What was worse was that they asked their laid off workers to actually provide knowledge transfer to their replacements. What was shocking, however, is when the laid off workers found out that the replacements were going to be making much lower wages than what they were actually making. The CEO later acknowledged and apologized for the fact that asking the laid off workers to train the replacement was way too much. However, the damage was actually done. The second argument is that H1B visa holders are willing to work for lower wages than their American counterparts. The argument behind this is that even though H1B visa holders don't directly displace American jobs, oftentimes H1B visa holders are willing to accept jobs at a much lower pay than their American counterparts. This can drive down wages for all workers in the same field. Now, those were the arguments. Now, let's get to the facts of does it actually lead to lower wages? A study by the National Foundation for American Policy found that H1B visa holders are more likely to be paid less than American workers with similar qualifications. Another study by the Economic Policy Institute found that H1B visa can lead to lower wages for all workers in the same field. The third argument is H1B visa can be abused by companies. We will actually be discussing this in a lot of detail in the later part of the video, so stay tuned. Now let's discuss the second part of the video, which is arguments in favor of the H1B visa and the supporting facts around it. The first argument is there is an actual shortage of specialized skill in the US. Now let's analyze this argument. A study by Brookings Institution found that H1B visa helped to fill a shortage of skilled workers in the United States. The second argument is that it allows the country to remain competitive and leads to innovation by attracting top talent from around the world and also leads to creating more jobs. Now let's analyze this argument by a couple of facts. A study by the Partnership of New American Economy found that H1B visa helped to boost the US economy by creating jobs and attracting investment. A study by the National Foundation for American Policy found that H1B visa holders are more likely to start their own businesses than American workers. The third argument is that companies won't spend thousands of dollars sponsoring every employee's H1B visa if that talent was easily available in the US. Now let's analyze this argument. Actually, a company ends up spending $2,000 to $6,000 to actually sponsor one H1B visa, and that doesn't even take into consideration the amount of time the entire visa process takes. However, some may want to argue the fact that they are willing to put in that money up front or spend that extra time because they will actually be hiring them on a low wage, and that will actually even out the costs. I do want to present another argument. Those who come here on H1B visa more often than not do not know if they are being paid lower than their American counterparts. We need to understand that the immigrants who are coming here to do a job that Americans are not really able to do. So should we really blame them? Now, after understanding both sides of the argument with some credible sources, we still don't have a winner. However, we do know that the system is broken and we need a villain. So let me present to you the villain. It is the companies. And companies hiring people on H1B visas? and companies lobbying to keep things the same, and companies laying off thousands of American workers and replacing them with H1B visa holders. Yes, we found a villain, but have we really? Yes, we can blame companies and corporations to find loopholes in the law and hire people for cheap for their own profit if we were living in an ideal world. But are we? We aren't living in an ideal world, so here is my pitch in favor of the companies. Take a step back and evaluate our own behaviors. Most of us are totally comfortable spending less and finding cheaper alternatives as long as it gets the job done. However, we are not comfortable when the American companies are doing the same. American companies outsourcing jobs, hiring H1Bs, contacting H1B body shops to get the job done is seen as abuse. However, how are they so different from us? What's seen as abuse by someone is seen as an opportunity for someone else to move forward in life. The Indian outsourcing companies fall into that opportunity category. While they are abusing, they are still moving forward legally with it because every application is actually approved by the USCIS and it has huge processing fees. Please note that the H1B visas do not cross the borders illegally. An open market is driven by simple economics. Cheaper is always good, whether it's goods or services. So what's the solution? An immigration reform. Immigration laws are really outdated in this country, but the country is so divided that it's only going to take a miracle for something like this to happen. However, we can be hopeful. I leave you with a fun fact. People who come here on H1B visas and finally manage to get a green card or citizenship actually start blaming people who are on H1B visas and blame them for the fact that these H1B people are going to take American jobs. It's a circle, you guys. That's it for today, but I would love to understand what you all think. Are you leaning on a particular side? Please leave that in comments and I would love to talk to you. If things are not going your way, remember it's okay, yaar. This is Priya signing off. Until next time, have a wonderful day.